Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Carissa, I explain it all, and in today's episode we are talking about the part of my life where I absolutely burnt out. So I was working really hard up until this point, many hours, 50, 60, 70 hour weeks for years. And I burnt out, and I kind of did it to myself, but also kind of didn't, but kind of did. So we're gonna dissect that a little bit. I'm gonna talk about my thoughts, my feelings, all those good things that led up to the burnout. Before I get into the story, I just want to address anyone else out there that is going through burnout. It sucks. Obviously. You feel stuck, you feel depressed, you feel probably alone and isolated, like you're the only one going through it. And even if you have people to talk about it too, if they are not also going through it, they don't really get it. This soul crushing feeling of, I can't do this anymore, but I don't have any other option but to keep doing it. Whether that's in your relationship with a job or relationship with another person, you kind of reach this point of, I've been doing things the way I've been doing it so far, and I'm burnt out and I'm stretched thin and there's too much weight and pressure on me, but I don't know what to do to get out of it. Then you don't have the energy or the focus or the desire to try something new because you're just exhausted. So you just kind of stay with it and you kind of disconnect from feeling anything because what you feel sucks. So it's just this terrible loop. And if you're going through this, I really feel for you. I really do. Because looking back, I can see my burnout as the tower moment, everything crumbles. And then it allowed everything, you put up your defenses for so long, you kind of become this solid rock shell around you to keep going, to keep trying to make the things in your life work, whether that's a relationship or job or whatever. And at a certain point, it starts to crack and crumble, and it doesn't matter how hard you try to control the situation, it's still falling out of your grip. And that's the tower moment trying to happen, and you're supposed to detach and you're supposed to let go, because it's only when you let go that you can let something else in. And that sounds so woo-woo and all that, but it's true. If your hands are full of stuff, you cannot hold anything else. You are trying to carry the weight of your current situation. And so looking back, I can say, wow, the burnout led to all these amazing things, but also that journey has not been one that's been fun all the time. And so I feel for anyone who's going through this, because there's not an immediate quick fix. I don't have some great MLM get rich quick scheme to help you out of that. But what I can offer is the insights from my own experience and going through that, and just resonance that I get it, what you're feeling, and you're not alone in feeling that. Hope that it can and does get better. That if you let it, if you can let it go and choose to try something else in life, here's the thing. That burnout happened 6 years ago, and I quit that job and eventually, spoiler alert, went back to that job, and I'm still at that job. But I am an entirely different person than I was back then. And this is not to say that you should go back to the thing that burnt you out, but rather it can be really hard to let go of the thing that is providing you stability right now in your life. And I think when we burn out, we are just trying to stay afloat, and we are trying to stay stable. And I think there's this sexy image of quit your job and go be an entrepreneur, or break up out of that toxic relationship and go find the love of your life, or go fall in love with yourself. And yeah, that's great, and do those things, but also that sometimes there's a journey there that you don't have the perfect relationship or the perfect job or the perfect self within days, weeks, or months, or even years of doing that, of letting that thing go that you were so burnt out on. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with not having this perfect vision of what you envisioned life would be once you let go of this thing that is making you so burnt out. I feel like I don't have all the answers, but I certainly have a journey that is chock filled with revelations of self and the world and how things work. And chasing the things that I was curious about. And I am so much more fulfilled and confident and integrated as a person because I chose to go on that journey. And when I burnt out, I quit my job thinking I was going to start YouTube. And that was 6 years ago. And I wasn't the person that I wanted to be yet for that. And so I needed that job. I ended up going back to it because I needed the stability of the income while I figured myself out. And so my point with all this, it seems like a bunch of jibber jabber and like I feel like I'm rambling, but my point with all this is the road out of hell, because that's what burnout feels like a lot of the times. The road out of hell isn't necessarily sexy, beautiful, clear cut. It's not necessarily going to look like anything that anyone else out there purports that it's going to be, you know. We all have these like really sexy images from social media of people who pulled themselves up and out of their situations and made it better, but like what you don't see is the journey that it took to get there. And when it's not like blind luck or whatever, like lucking into something viral and life-changing or whatever, when there's a process to it, we don't get to see that process. So the reason why I'm sharing all this is because through that process, I journaled. I have like 40 journals of my thoughts and feelings through this entire process. I have pictures off Instagram, Facebook, off my phone, my husband's phone, our iPads, all these things. Like never before has, like in history, have we had an archive of our own lives to be able to reflect back on. I got emails from way back in 2016, like understanding what I was thinking and feeling and how I was communicating. And even my voice sounds different. Like the way that I communicated with people, I can hear it through email. I can see it in the videos. I actually, at the end of this video, towards the end of this video, I'm going to be reacting to video that I filmed as I was going through the burnout and about to quit my job. And I actually documented that process thinking I was going to start YouTube at that time. My point through all this is no one person's journey is going to look like another. Obviously, we know that. But if that's the case, then how do we get through our own burnout? And I think it's by sharing hope, wisdom, insights. You're not alone. This can be a journey, and it's okay to accept the reality of that, and that it's not necessarily going to look sexy and like be super cool and like a cool 80s montage of you getting your shit together. And that's okay. That is the human experience. And what if you are supposed to do that journey? Like that is part of your story. And to deprive yourself of that because you're trying to get from point A to point B as fast as possible is just going to load you up with more stress and pressure than is necessary. I feel like that is, if I could tell myself one thing through this last 6 years, it would be stop pressuring yourself to have it all figured out right now. What if what you're going through right now is just what you're supposed to be going through right now, rather than like I would go through something and then I'd be like, okay, now it's time to do YouTube, trying to get my projects back in order, trying to do whatever, trying to move ahead in life. And what if I just let my healing journey be my healing journey? What if I just let myself sink into the present moment and be there? But of course, I wasn't the kind of person that could do that at that time, so I really couldn't have done it any other way. But if I could give that advice to my younger self, and that's what I will pass on to you, it's that be present in the moment and listen to yourself. Listen to what you need and meet those needs directly. Because I guarantee the reason why you're burning out right now is because you're trying to get your needs met in a very roundabout way that you're not even aware of. Subconsciously, you're trying to get some needs met, and you think the only way to do it is to be doing it by trying harder, by trying to appease someone else, by trying to carry more of the burden, to not burden anyone else. Hyper independence, that's a big one. You feel burnt out because you feel like you have to do it all yourself all the time, and that it's not okay to self-care and it's not okay to take care of your own needs. But what you're trying to do by doing all those things and working harder is to take care of your own needs. You're just doing it in a really roundabout way. And that no shame. Everybody does it. And I still do it. Even though I'm very aware of when I'm doing it, I'm still having moments of realization. Oh, I'm doing it again. You know, it's what we've been conditioned to do. So my hope is through sharing this story is to allow you to see through my own experience of seeing where I've been conditioned and I have neglected my self-care and not met my needs directly and have been trying to do it in roundabout ways by getting other people to do things or trying to work harder and do it all by myself, that it doesn't work. And there's another way to do it that's a lot kinder to yourself. And you deserve that. Yes, you do. So let's dive into the story. Where I last left off was 2016. I had just been promoted at my job. I moved from the North Bay area in California to San Francisco Bay Area. It was a big promotion. It was a lot more responsibility, a lot more visibility, a lot more eyes on me, but I kind of wanted that at the time. I wanted the attention, not necessarily attention. I wanted the praise, the approval, the acceptance, the applause. I did. So what? I did. Like, and the money, of course. The nicer things that I could buy with the money. Yeah, for all intents and purposes, this move looked like it was going to, like I was moving up. I was moving my life ahead. I was moving towards my goals and dreams, whatever those were. Like I wanted a nice house and like to be able to travel, and I just had very vague dreams. I think I just thought at a certain point I'll have enough money where I'm not worried anymore. At the time, that's what I thought I needed to do to feel more safe and move towards my goals in life. So, June of 2016, I moved to the San Francisco Bay Area and started working at the store where I thought I'd be able to take more of a background position where I didn't have to deal with customers, because dealing with customers in retail, and this is a combination of like retail, medical industry, dealing with customers all day long when you are an empath, a highly sensitive person, energetically sensitive, and you don't know any of this. I didn't know any of that at the time. And it's a draining type of work for anyone. And then if you are also energy sensitive, it is extremely draining for that as well. And one of the patterns that I just couldn't see at that time and really didn't see for a long time, till like just recently, was that I had this core belief deep down that I can't have the life that I want. Now this is super like big and esoteric and didn't come to this realization till now, which is 6 years after the burnout, 8 years after the point in our story that we're at. But I really believed that I can't actually have what I want. And so what I'm going to do instead is, yes, there's suffering because I'm doing things that I don't want to do, but I'm going to make the best of it and the most of the situation and try to empower myself by gaining skills and recognition and social clout and money. I'm going to try to like accumulate and gather my resources in financial capital, social capital, mental capital, whatever it was, I'm going to try to accumulate these and like bunker down and like make the best of my situation, because if I have to suffer, at least I'm going to be wealthy in my suffering. That's just insane. But I get, and I wasn't consciously thinking this, but looking back, I can see this pattern of doing that. Have you heard of that, is it metaphor, story, analogy, whatever? I always get them confused. But the baby elephant in the circus that gets tied to a stake when it's a baby, and as it grows bigger, it is now strong enough to pull that stake right out of the ground and trample off and leave the circus. But it doesn't believe that it can, because for so long, so many years, it had been conditioned to believe that it could not escape that stake, the rope around its neck tied to the stake. It believed it couldn't escape that. And that's all that conditioning really is. Like whatever stake and rope that you went through when you were a child, you get conditioned to believe that you can't break free of that. And for some reason, that was my paradigm, was that whatever I'm going through, I have to go through. I don't get a choice really in what I go through, even though I at the time I believed that I did have a choice. I don't know why. But for some reason I believed that I could not change my circumstances. Like I couldn't get a different job, probably because I had worked my way up and so I was earning a certain amount of income, so I was paying for stuff that I couldn't afford if I started over in a different field. So I just figured, well, I'll just make the best of where I'm at right now, even though it sucks. Which logically, like, no, back down out of those responsibilities and reroute into something that you actually enjoy. But I wasn't thinking like that. And honestly, I think that is the personal definition of hell, is feeling stuck because you've been conditioned to believe that you have to repeat this circumstance over and over again, and you're not conscious of it. Because if you're not conscious that you're doing this, then you can't change that. You cannot change something until you're aware of it. And so, such the insidious thing about conditioning. So the way that I made my circumstances better, even though I was having to work with customers all day and higher volume, so even more than I did before, was to take on more responsibilities that I actually wanted to do at my job. So I did things like made promotional videos, I helped other stores open up, I took on training all the new employees, whether they were managers or associates. I basically, like, I just wanted to learn. I just wanted to be better. I kept feeling like if I just make myself better, and I do tend towards the perfectionist on that scale. And so I would keep doing things to learn and to be better at being me. And at first in my job, when I was at my previous store, the one that I originally had success from before I got the promotion, I met a customer who was the son of a multimillionaire, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm touching like my dream of like having money, having security. Like I'm touching, like not physically touching, but like metaphorically touching like someone who has that kind of wealth. Like, oh my gosh, like I'm close to it. I can feel it. And like, so I asked him, I was like, what books would you recommend? And he recommended The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And that opened up my mind to possibilities of working for yourself and for not having to go along with the cookie cutter, go to school, get a job, retire. And I loved that for that. And he also recommended this book, The Go-Giver. And this is the book where there's like 5 business principles or whatever. And it's definitely like law of attraction, but only written for business. So it doesn't talk about anything spiritual, but it certainly follows those universal principles. And I love this book. I gave this book away to a lot of people who I'd see them doing such a good job in their own business, in their own roles, and I just wanted to help them do even better. And so I'd give them this book, and I have this tradition of writing notes to people on the inside cover of when I give them this, and I always have an extra copy of this book to give to someone when I feel the need. So I gave this book to one of my bosses back in 2014 or 15, and in 2016, I didn't know, but this book came out, The Go-Giver Leader. And when I had moved to this new store, I was telling her, I was like, this is just more of the same work that I was doing before, but even more so. And I hate working with customers. They're so fickle and rude and jerks, to put it nicely. And so she was like, you know what? You've been a great manager. You can manage things well. You can organize. You're efficient. You can run analytics. But there's a difference between being a manager and being a leader. And this really sparked my interest, my curiosity. And so I took that year, 2016, to really get down to like, what does it mean to be a leader? And she continued that tradition with me of writing a note for me in the book. And that is so special. She's a great person. We no longer work together, but she's still a really cool person. And so I focused most of 2016 on learning how to be a leader and also how to be super efficient. I cleaned up that place and super organized it and kind of learned about the Toyota way and the 2-second lean. I was basically trying to do all these things to improve myself in the workplace. I also tried to understand this book, First Break All the Rules. This is a great book on knowing how to make sure that your people are taken care of. And I feel like that provides a really stable foundation in the workplace for everyone to function happily, because that's not a priority in businesses, and I don't understand why not. So I threw myself into that. And then also to understand why customers were jerks, I read this book, Predictably Irrational, and it really actually helped to uncover why you could spend an hour or two with someone and really building rapport and having like a great time, and then something goes wrong with their order and then they call and they yell and they cuss you out. Like, what the fuck? So this book was really great at helping me understand the reasoning behind that. You know, when you get money involved, when you exchange money for goods, it is no longer about that social interaction. So it doesn't matter how much of a relationship you built up, that's really not the crux of it. So it helped me to not take things so personally, and also to start setting boundaries with customers, and honestly to like kind of set up a little bit of a wall to not connect with people as genuinely and authentically as I was, because I didn't want to get hurt. I feel like I have since helped break down that wall, but I still have, and I have really firm boundaries now around customers. But you know, I threw myself into understanding like, how can I be better in the workplace, and that worked up until, you know, like later of 2016. I went on a couple of vacations. I went to Colorado. My husband loves the TV show South Park. And so I planned a vacation. It was the first like major vacation we could take where we didn't worry about money, because we were actually making a lot of money. So that felt incredible, to like just feel free for 2 weeks, you know, and have money. And so we went to South Park. We went to like the Cave of the Winds and Casa Bonita, places that are in the South Park TV show. So that was really fun. That was one of my favorite vacations, honestly. And I surprised him by bringing his best friend too. My husband thought his best friend was coming over to babysit our cats. And then I was like, surprise, he's coming with us. So it was just so much fun. I really loved that. And I I said that I trained for a Spartan race, to run a Spartan race, which is like a big obstacle course, like I was doing like a 3 mile, 20 obstacles or whatever. But I didn't train, and everyone that I was going to go with bailed out on me like the night before and the morning of. And so I'm really, really proud of myself that I still went. I'll throw the picture up here because it looks so cool and badass. Really, I walked through the entire course, and I made myself go through every obstacle, but by the end I was doing everything I could to just get through whatever it was I was supposed to do. Barely getting through. But I'm really proud of myself that I still went, even though everyone else canceled. That's not something that I was known to do at that time. I would have taken the excuse to just get out of it, but I did it, and I'm proud of myself. But by the end of 2016, after having dedicated myself to working 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week, for weeks, months, and spending all my free time researching how to be better at my job when I'm at my job. I did it to myself, you know, like I burnt out, but I was like so mad at the corporate workplace for like, why aren't you recognizing like how much we're doing? You should pay me more. We should provide more staff support so we can do better. Just all these things, but really, truly, I could have set better boundaries and all of that, but like I couldn't have, because at the time I didn't know I could have set boundaries. I didn't know how to take care of myself. I didn't know I could meet my needs directly. And I'm a really passionate person, so I like to throw myself into my work. I enjoy it. It's just that my work was not aligned to me, and I had not even thought to ask the question, does this align with what I want to do? Who am I? What is happiness to me? But I was about to start asking these questions. So late 2016, I hit a massive period of depression. It was I'm a pretty emotional person, but I'm also like extremely logical in my mind. So this is kind of a interesting combination. But I've been through many, many periods of depression all through my life. Being moody, being emotional, not knowing how to process my emotions. I would go up and down all the time. It was normal. But finally at the end of 2016, I really hit a wall where I was like, I hate my job. I hate it, and I feel like I've done everything to try to be better at it, but it's not solving the problem. It's not solving the situation. It's not making it any better. And it never was going to. That's the thing I didn't realize at the time. Everything I was doing was making me better at the job, but the job wasn't in alignment with me, and so I should have just changed jobs, right? But here I was, I got the promotion, the accolades. I was so entrenched in, and probably enmeshed in my relationships at work, and it was my everything. I built all this up. How could I just leave it behind? And so I hit this wall of utter depression. It was extremely hard to get out of bed. I was late for work many, many days because I just couldn't bring myself to come in. And I broke down to my boss, the one that we shared the books. You know, we had a really good relationship, and I broke down and I was like, I hate my job. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And she's like, what would make you happy? I just want you to be happy. And I'm not shitting you. I didn't understand the question. I mean, I did, but it was like, I had never in my life asked myself what would make me happy, because that was never on the table. When you come from a family where you have to work hard, everything is a struggle, you're in survival mode, that is your life. Like, you don't know that life can be any different. You see other people having a different kind of life where they're not stressed all the time and they're not overworking, but you don't even question that your world paradigm is helping you perpetuate continuing to be in that survival mode. And I mean, when you're in survival mode, you're in survival mode. But when you get to a place where you are now stable and you're not in survival mode, you don't even think to question, I don't have to be in survival mode. So what does not being in survival mode look like? Now I can start asking questions about what is happiness and all that. But I didn't even know to do that, because my entire life I lived just getting by, just making it work, trying to get through the next thing, struggling. And so had my parents. That's the way they spent their lives. And that's the way their parents spent their lives. So, like, looking back, it's like obvious, like, why the hell didn't I ask what would actually make me happy and go do that thing, right? Meet my needs directly. But you don't know what you don't know. And if you have always been conditioned, this is how life is. Life is struggle. Life is hard. Life is always pushing yourself past your limits and trying harder. Then you don't know that it doesn't have to be that way. And she's amazing for saying this, because it made me stop in my tracks and go, hang on a sec. You are an authority figure and you don't want more out of me? You want me to be happy? What? And I took the question to heart. I went home and I was like, I don't know what happiness is. I don't know. I have no idea. So I Googled, I'm not joking, I Googled what is happiness. And I found information on like Bhutan's, gross national happiness. What? Like, we could prioritize happiness and not success? I mean, I thought success would give me happiness, but I have success and it's not making me happy. And so what is happiness? I also found Maslow's hierarchy of 6 needs. Need for stability and variety, love and connection, feeling of unique, feeling self-fulfilled. And from there, I found Tony Robbins and his work with the 6 needs. I started finding other entrepreneurs. This is kind of the rise of bro entrepreneurship at the time. This is 2016. Just to refresh your memory a little bit, in 2016, Brexit happened, Trump was elected, the Summer Olympics in Rio, I believe Doctor Strange came out, Pokemon Go was a thing. So I started listening to these people who were really into mental mindset and coming up with ideas of what are the things that would make me happy, what feels like stability, what feels like variety, what feels like love and connection, and trying to move more into this. And so, as I always do when I'm in my happy place, I went to work learning more. I still was not fixing the situation of hating my job and getting out of that job. I kind of, I found entrepreneurship and I was like, oh, I'd love to do this. I'd love to work for myself. So entrepreneurship was kind of like this vague goal where I was like, I'm going to do that. And that's how I'm going to get out of my job. And so I started following all these entrepreneurs. This is going into 2017. I kind of got like reinvigorated of like, I'm going to learn all this stuff. I'm going to do all these things. And so, oh my God, it's no wonder I burnt out. But what I ended up doing... Hey guys, editing Carissa here. Fun fact, this video was 2 hours long and I managed to get it down to about 1.5 hours, but that was still kind of too long, so I've split it up into 3 different parts and you have reached the end of part 1. But never fear, part 2 is right here for you to watch. So if you're enjoying the story so far, feel free to click on it, go watch part 2. It's where I actually talk about the burnout, so have fun. I'll see you there.